Been hit. Right, restream's coming through. Good. And YouTube is working. Yep, everything's working. We are good to go.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Good day, everybody on Suffolk Ram.
Skazz, yes.
Welcome to episode 178 of the Van Nerds podcast.
It's a podcast, isn't it?
Thank you much for joining us this wonderful Guy Fawkes evening. I'm sorry for all the loud bangs that are going to be upsetting Skazz when it comes to editing the audio.
Mate, I've been angry now since 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right, I've been sat trying to do since 5 o'clock, and everyone is making things go bang, and not in a fun way. Nothing's getting blown up. I mean, these little packages of explosives are going up into the air, but that's about it. And it's like, well, what good's that? What good's that?
You want to, well, if they have, like, perhaps they aim the fireworks at people.
Yes.
That'd be more exciting, wouldn't it? If Guy Fawkes was, everybody goes out and literally, like, sort of like launches rockets at each other.
That'd be great.
You know, light a Roman candle and point at each other and pretend you're, like, really crap Jedi.
But at this point, I'm sorry. It's not now. I'm sorry. If you missed it, you missed it. Stop letting off fireworks. Just throw my fucking head in.
Yeah,
They've been going off around here for weeks.
Really? We had a small bout last weekend, and we've had pretty much nothing until last night, and I'm assuming it's going to be busy tonight and busy tomorrow night. Is what I'm assuming.
It's got to the point now where I'm starting to think laws should be passed where if you piss me off, the punishment should be no less than crucifixion.
Just specifically piss you off.
Yes, just me.
I'm afraid, guys, you're not friendly enough with Boris to get a sort of law passed.
I know. I had to take him off my speed dial. Country's got too many problems. I just don't want to hear it. So as soon as that law is passed, he'd be the first person to be crucified.
You're fed up giving that. You're fed up giving that advice, aren't you?
It's like, look.
It's like, no, Skazz, what do you think we should do about this whole the COVID situation? My friends can't go out to the restaurants and to the Ritz. It's disgraceful. What should we do about it?
Frankly, Boris, I couldn't give a flying fuck. If you'd have done your job properly...
Guys, this is why I have you on my team.
Do you want to know what's unfucking sportsmanlike? If I nail your fucking legs to a floor and shotgun you in the face.
Blimey.
That's unsportsmanlike conduct. But making me stay inside for all this time is also unsportsmanlike fucking conduct.
Brings me right back to my public school days.
So fucking take the silver spoon, pull it out your ass, and think things through. I know it tickles a little bit. Just pull it out. Start thinking. Come on. I know you're sitting on your brain, son. Get it sorted.
Skazz for president.
There you go. Nailed it. That's my pitch. Crucifixion.
Well, so it's been exciting. Well, so how's your
a
VR
vote not
spin
for
going?
me. 1 second. A vote not for me is a vote for crucifixion. You will be crucified if you don't vote for me.
Yeah.
How is my VR stint going? Fantastic, Ram. Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. In fact, turns out, well, depending on what you're doing in VR, even a 3090, an NVIDIA 3090 can be brought to its fucking knees. Now, I don't own a 3090. I have a 3060, mobile 3060, right? But I have a PC that's not a huge amount more powerful, right? But look me, VR brings it to its knees.
Oh, that's what you want. Before you come to say evening Annie, evening Jimmy.
Can sit there in VR chat, nothing. Frame rates are sound, right? Then all of a sudden, some bellend comes in with this overly flashy avatar. Frame rates hit the floor. It's great. Also, I just wanted to say, in the last episode, I said that I reckon if you had a wired VR headset, you wouldn't have any trouble getting it to work on an Optimus-based laptop. So, because I'm running an Optimus-based laptop, and the Oculus Quest linky stuff doesn't work very well, particularly reliably with... It just doesn't work with Optimus. Unless you go into your device manager, you have to do all this faff first. If that doesn't work, go into device manager, disable your low power graphics card, and then immediately re-enable it, and it'll work, right? But I bust out my Rift, my Oculus Rift, the CV1, and it doesn't work.
School boy.
Doesn't work with the Optimus laptop at all. Doesn't work. Doesn't do it. No joy. So, I went on an adventure for more VR headsets.
It's a bad idea for me getting into VR.
Mate, I love it.
You've got slightly mad about it.
It's a bit bad. So I've noticed another issue with my vision. So you know where you've got a sweet spot in both lenses? And kind of when you move an object from the sweet spot of one lens, it kind of falls into the sweet spot of the other lens.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm blind, I can't see, and I can't see the sweet spot in the other lens. So I have to, if I'm streaming, I'm constantly kind of tilting to one side to try and to get text and that into focus. But you know, all in is fair. But so I've tried now on the Optimus-based laptop. I've tried a CV1. The answer is no. Quest 1. Yes, if you go through all of the steps that I just mentioned, plus the ones we did in the last episode. So, set all of your streaming applications, all your applications run on the NVIDIA graphics card or your AMD graphics card, your high-end graphics card. Make sure your network is set to private, and then disable your low-power graphics card and re-enable it. Oculus Link should work. Okay, same thing for the Quest 2. So we tried that. We tried a Windows mixed reality headset, the Dell equivalent, which, by the way, fucking terrible headset. Terrible. I mean, it's not actually... Right, build quality is okay. It's got a nice, comfortable kind of halo head strap, and it's got this fantastic like flip-up feature, so that you kind of... You can lift it off your face so you can see what's in front of you. So if you do need to fiddle around with your computer, you don't have to take the whole thing off. It doesn't have any built-in sound, so you have to plug in headphones. Again, that's fine, though. Which is, I guess, why the flip-up display is kind of nice, because you don't have to take everything off once you've got everything set up. And then, but the thing with that one is, I've been told it doesn't have a microphone on it. So you have to have an external microphone. And that when you go into some games, I don't know if it's really like the FOV. The FOV in these is supposed to be quite wide, but like where the lenses are rounded and you can't actually move, you can't change the IPD through physically moving the lenses. You can only do that in software. I found that like VR chat, for example, there's an icon in the bottom left-hand corner that tells you when your microphone is muted. That's kind of... It's not there. The field of view is a bit kind of... It's not wide enough. But if you kind of look down to the side and kind of squint a little bit, you can kind of see it there. So it doesn't seem to display properly compared to all my other headsets. And the other one we tried was the HTC Vive, the original Vive. And that one was pretty sound. That one works out of the box. The mixed reality headset and the Vive work no problems with an Optimus-based laptop. So, you know, if you do have an Optimus-based laptop and you go for a headset like one of those, fantastic. Also, mixed reality headsets, you can get them from anywhere between maybe £75 and £125. So if you want to get into VR and you don't want to spend a lot of money, there you go. Rifts, the CV1s and HTC Vives tend to go for about 200, 250. So those are good deals. And if you've got a hard on for the Valve Knuckles, the Valve VR controllers with the finger touchy sensitive the knuckly things, you can use those with the Vive because they operate on base station generation 1s. So you can actually go out and buy say a Vive for 200 quid, buy your Knuckles for 250 quid, and they give you a copy of Half-Life Alyx. And so for around £500 you're playing Half-Life Alyx. So it's for all those people going out there going, mate, you need to have £1,000 setup to play Half-Life Alyx. You don't.
No, you don't.
Not even close. So that's pretty rad. But yeah, the Vive seems to work. Vive is easily the most comfortable VR headset that I've worn in a long time without mods. So like straight out of the box, it's the most comfortable. With the CV1, I had to add in like a new facial interface. The Quest 1...
I love the term facial interface. It sounds so technical for a bit of foam.
It is. It's great. It's great. The Quest out of the box, I mean, you might as well just have like a big old giant person just start crushing your skull. That's what wearing a Quest 1's like. Quest 2, a bit more comfortable, but ideally get yourself like the Pro strap or whatever it is that Facebook, Oculus, Meta call it. Get the Meta Pro battery strap or whatever it's going to be. That's a good one. But yeah, and then the other headsets, that weird Dell one's really awkward to sort out. But again, VR, cheap, fun. Been playing with those. Controls. Just want to give a brief overview. The best controls I've used in VR so far, and I can't judge the Knuckles because I've never used them. The best go to the Oculus ones. The Oculus Touch controls. So the first gen ones, because you can still do all the actions where you have to swipe over your hands and stuff. Because where they changed the rings to go up. So the Oculus Touch controllers have a ring that go... First it was under the control. Then it went over the control. It's supposed to stop you from smacking yourself in the hand or whatever.
It doesn't work.
Sure. But
painful experience, I'll explain it later.
Okay, cool. Well, some games they want you to get your hands up really close together. Like Lone Echo, for example. But if you've got that ring over the top of your hand, you can't actually get your hand in close enough to the other hand to do the action it wants you to do. So that's a bit awkward. I think the Oculus control pads are probably up there along with the Knuckles. The Vive wands. No. Just no. They've got a really bad fault in them too. So the Vive wands function. So you've got analog sticks on your Rift controls.
Yeah.
And you've got an analog stick on your Knuckles. And you've got an analog stick on your Windows Mixed Reality headset thing. Okay. On the Vive, you have your menu button. The other menu buttons. You have like two menu buttons in VR. One for going straight back to your home page. The other one to bring up like a context menu.
Yeah.
And then all you've got is like a touchpad. Your old Steam pad touchpad.
Controller style, yeah.
Yeah. And well, that functions by way of a single button underneath the touchpad. If you've got your thumb in the middle and you press, the sensor says, right, thumb's in the middle. You've just clicked the single button. Means you must be just pressing the button. Thumb's on the top. If the sensor says you're on the top and you click that single button that's in the middle of the pad, so you click it from the top, but the sensor you're still pressing the same button as if you were doing the center click, but because that sensor is telling you your thumb's at the top, up. Same with down, left, right. However, for some reason it seems that right very often fails. There appears to be a fault with the early pads. I don't know if they fixed it with the later ones, but pull it apart, and just in case anyone ever has this issue with their Vive ones, where one of the directions stops working on their pad, which you can admittedly remap in the Steam VR thing. You can do that with most of the pad's remap buttons. change bindings, but because obviously like a game might be mapped for Rift, and you're now playing it with a Vive wand, and you're like, well, hang on a minute, I ain't got that button. I can remap, swipe with my thumb or whatever to do this, or like Alex has got a specific button, but you can change that to a button instead of a swipe or a whatever. Anyway, if you have the issue and you want to fix the button, it's not the button itself that's failed. So, crack it open. I won't tell you how to open up your control pads, but basically crack it open. Be very, very careful when you get to the actual hand grip section, when you start to open it up, when you pull it apart. Because that's where all the ribbon cables are at. If you pull it too far apart, you're gonna make bad very quickly. Just be very careful, moving it apart slowly to look inside. Right. All you need to do to fix that duff button is to look where the switch is, which will be on the bottom side of the pad, where the trigger is. Right? You need to take a small piece of paper. Just paper. You don't need to glue anything. Just paper. Like a thin piece of card or whatever. And I do mean thin. Like
Little packet type thickness.
Yeah, just thin. Really, really thin. Like like if you buy a pad with A4 paper in it. Just cut a tiny square off the front cover of that. Just a tiny fucking square. Because I mean, this button is really, really small. Okay? Now, flip your pad over so that the sensor is now is on the bottom facing down. Look for a little post that is poking up from the bottom of that sensor's pad, and take the paper and put it on that post. Just balance it on the post. Squeeze the pad back together, ideally without moving that paper off the post. Bam! Your right button now works. There's like a small rubbery membrane, like a substance on that post that is supposed to make contact with that button, and it's just worn down a little bit, or it's degraded a bit over time. Because apparently the person who I bought my Vive from had barely used it. And I mean, it was pretty clean. The box was tatty, but it was like even the cables were still cable tied and stuff. Just that pad, one of the pads failed. So I did that thing, got it working, and the next day the other pad failed too. It was working fine the first day, but the second pad was broken.
Yeah.
Fixed the second pad.
Feature,
Yeah, and so just went in, fixed that again. But if you ever have a Vive wand that does that, that's why it's just kind of the rubbery substance that's on the post of that sensor it's just degraded. It's just worn out or turned to flub. So bit of paper, bit of card. Do not put any thick plastic in there. I've heard a lot of people saying, "Look, I'll get a credit card size piece of plastic." I was like, that's too thick. You can end up breaking the button if you do that. But just something nice and thin to give it like less than a millimeter of extra purchase on that button, and you are good to go. But all of the controls are pretty solid. I like base station tracking when you can get it set up well, but I mean, it's a fucking nightmare to have to set all that stuff up all the time. The Vive has the most difficult setup process of the lot because it is base station tracked, so you have to tell it where the floor is. Tell it how high a seated position's going to be, tell it how tall you're going to be, set up your play space and all that kind of stuff. Whereas like with the Rift S, with the mixed reality headset and the Quests and that, you can literally just go turn them on. They do inside out tracking, meaning the headset tracks the controls, and you're done. You're done. You can just say, start a new area, bam, stationary, bam, and it'll draw a line around or circle around where your headset's located, and then it'll track your hands from there. Everything else is a faff. However, if you want to move into stuff like full body tracking, you need to have a base station setup. Ideally, the Vive towers or the Valve. The satellite 2s or whatever, the base station 2s. You need something like that for full body tracking. Unless you go for Slime VR, but then to get that to work properly, you need to have like extra software workarounds and stuff like that. If you're into it, cool. If not, I mean, the easiest solution would be Tundra or Vive trackers. You only need 3 of those, and they come in at the same price as 7 of the slime trackers. I think you need about 5 or 7 of them to get it to work. Now, it might be 5. It might be 5. But they're a bit more finicky on the setup than the Vive and the Tundras. But yeah, Adventures in VR has been fun. It's really, really, really neat. I've been enjoying just trying all these different headsets, and I desperately want to try one of the kind of... I want to try a PC VR headset that falls into the same category as the Quest 2, like generation-wise. So I've tried all the Gen 1 stuff, or a lot of the Gen 1 stuff. I've tried Quest, which is technically like Generation 2, like the not the beginner stuff, but we've kind of improved a bit more since then. So like
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. I want to get something that's in that kind of region as of the Quest 2 with the higher resolution screen. Maybe OLED, because I do like the way that OLED displays colors. And just kind of give that a crack. I'd like to try an Index one day. I'd actually really like to try an HTC Cosmos, but I've been told the inside-out tracking on those is shite. But you can get a faceplate to change that to base station tracking, and then I can use all my stuff from the Vive for that. I'd like to try the Vive wireless tracking or wireless headset module, Dubry. So instead of having it connected up to your PC, you have a base station, and it does the magic beaming in high quality to your headset. That'd be rad. So I can do a backflip in VR. I think I said that in the last podcast. I want to do full body tracking so I can kick people and backflip in VR. That would be fantastic. I want to do it, and I think because. Have you played anything else have you played anything in VR recently, Ram?
Yes, I have.
Because have I scratched the thing and you've been like, oh, I want to play VR a bit more.
Well, yeah, you have for some. It's like VR is one of the things I sort of go back to, play a lot of, and then sort of like drift away and go back to again. So I bought that. Hummel had a deal on a VR game bundle for like silly price. So I picked that up a couple weeks ago, and never actually got around to actually activating anything. But I have done it now, and so part of the VR bundle was a game called Zero Caliber. Which is a it's
the military shooter, isn't it?
Military shooter?
Yeah. Kind of like Counter-Strike styly.
Yeah. It's so because I sort of picked it up. I had looked to buy it myself anyway, but the sort of up to more recent reviews have been terrible.
Right.
But I thought, well, I got off part of the bundle, so I thought I'll give it a go. I've discussed last podcast how I'm sort of would have liked sort of a Rainbow Six style shooter, like, tactical shooting, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I picked it up and I thought, well, let's see what this is like. And give it a go. And it has got a single player mode. It's not a big single player mode. It's probably got. I mean, I've played it for I think I played it for about sort of over the last couple of days. Played for about 3 hours. It's not a huge amount of time. But I'm probably nearly all the way through the campaign. It's not a massive campaign, but then it's not really the point. The point is you're meant to play it co-op or the versus mode, as it were.
And VR games generally aren't actually that long. I mean, usually, if you get about 6 hours out of a VR game, 4 to 6 hours out of a VR game, you are doing really, really, really well. I can only think of a handful of games off the top of my head that actually last much longer than that. Half-Life Alyx, Resident Evil.
I'm not saying that as a negative. It's an observation.
Sure.
So I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
No, I'm just making sure that people know that that's actually not a bad time, because on average, that's all you really tend to get. But then VR games are much cheaper, usually.
Yeah, they are generally. And also, I think you take a VR, for me at least, a VR VR play session tends to be shorter than a PC game. So whereas a PC game I could probably play for several hours straight, no problem. VR, I tend to find it's all about 2.5 hours is sort of my limit with VR.
Sure.
I tend to, at that point, I'm moving about, I'm getting a little bit tired, getting a little bit sweaty, it's getting a bit unpleasant. So 2.5 to 3 hours sort of max. So actually, a shortest game is not a bad thing, because that's still going to be like a couple of sessions.
Yeah. I mean, someone said that to me a while ago. They said, you know what? VR is hard work. Like, you could be a hardcore gamer, spend hours and hours and hours in your favorite competitive shooter or whatever of choice. And as soon as you take that kind of thing into VR, it doesn't transfer. You end up feeling tired and sweaty and you know, everyone's like, you got to make sure you got a fan or air conditioning, and
you're moving about more, aren't you? Because your body is, you're moving about a lot more. You're, you know, let's face it, normally when you pick keyboard, when you're on PC, you're either using a controller or using a mouse and keyboard.
That's why we've got such strong hands.
It is. That's indeed exactly no other reason, just that. So VR. So I picked up because I want to sort of miniature shooter. I'll give it a go, and it plays. I feel a better touchstone for it is like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So it's got like regenerating health in it. You know, if you get shot, take cover, your health comes back. But other than that, it's still like fairly realistic. You know. So that's where we're at. So gunplay, the gunplay is really good. Your weapons are really nicely detailed. They all work slightly differently. The usual sort of situation where, in mil sims at least, you have your gun, you need to, for your first pick up, you need to obviously put a magazine in it. Annoyingly, and I can't find where we configure it, they work on the basis of, to pick a magazine up, most games use the grip button to pick up a magazine and insert it. This one use the trigger button. The amount of times I've gone and pressed the grip button to pick up a magazine, it doesn't work. Yeah, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. It's because you can have a different weapon on your left-hand side, so your grip buttons pick up the weapon.
Oh.
So you can carry two weapons. Put magazine in, cock it, and fire. And if you change magazine before you've run out of bullets, you can just fire immediately. If you're not, you have to be cocking. The usual sort of realistic stuff. What's neat about it is you can customize weapons. You can literally pick up sights and change sights on it. You can put flashlights on them. Just literally pick them up and stick them on or pull them off. And you can switch them on and off as well. So you've got a laser sight. You can like switch it on, switch it off. Put a red dot scope and switch it out. So when you're playing the levels, you'll come across like new gear. You can literally swap out on the fly and pick it up and swap it out. And between missions, you have like this base. If you go to this base, you have like an armory, and what you can do is you can customize a loadout of all the weapons, and there's like 3 dummies which are like your profiles, and you can like, once you've got a weapon customization you like, you go up to the dummy, click on almost like a save button, and it updates that profile on the dummy, and then you can just equip it, and so you have 3 different setups. You can just I'll equip this one, and you can pick a different setup to use. So you can set up perhaps you can set up like a close combat, SMG pistol setup, and you can have like more mid-range, assault rifle, and then perhaps a sniper setup. And you can like equip different layouts as you go, that's pretty neat. And then also you play games. So off into the missions you go, and they're fairly they're not most levels aren't that big, and most missions aren't that long. They're probably about 10 to 20 minutes in length. Yeah. So not huge long missions, but they're okay, they're good enough. One thing I had a thought about our discussion last week about military simulators and so forth. And this called Confirm My Thought. I would like the idea of a realistic military shooter, how to sort of like duck round corners, quick reactions, sort of having to take cover and all that sort of stuff. That's great in a PC game when you want to crouch and you press the C key.
Or control for normal people.
But in VR, you crouch. Now, I don't know if you've noticed that military people, special forces, military people, they tend to be relatively fit. They don't usually have a bit of flab. They can actually bend down fairly quickly.
Very strict fitness requirements.
Yeah. Now, I'm a PC gamer. There aren't that strict fitness requirements for PC gamers. So having to roughly duck down behind something is a bit of an issue. And actually, I thought to myself, I don't think I could play a rapid, high reaction, realistic military because I'm not fit enough to do it. I don't feel I could do it because I think I'll get to a bit of cover. Like, I can't take cover quick enough because I'm just too slow. I have to think about going down. Because it's also a case of when you want to kneel down quickly, you can crouch is one thing, but if you want to like kneel down to get down right low, you can't. In the reality, you can see where you are, so you know you're not going to kneel down. But in VR, you can see the VR world, but you're blind to the real world. So that makes it going. Am I like going in the right place? Have I judged how high up I go? Oh no, I've just banged my knee. That was a bit too fast. I was doing that there. So I have considered actually getting knee pads on to start playing this game, so I can get down a bit quicker.
Okay.
Just a bit of protection. I think what I need is like a padded room, like a sort of bounce around in.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I think maybe you should just put a couple of mattresses on your floor.
Yeah, I could do that as well. But yeah, some sort of like sprung padded floor. You know, something you can like bounce around on.
Mate, I really want to see you. I really want to see you go prone in VR with full body track and with a mattress on the floor. So I'll get your legs, your waist, and your hands will be tracked, and you just dive, and I get to see your character dolphin dive. So of course you're done. All of a sudden I hear this. Ah! I was like, "What's happened?" Oh, he just ricocheted off his desk again. Don't worry about it. He missed the mattress.
Yeah. So. The actual gameplay. So I mean, the level design, as the level design, I mean, they have got. I'm sure this is how it works. You know how some games have, Accordion does this well, where you have the enemies keep spawning until you reach a certain point and they stop.
Yeah, they stopped doing that in console and PC games a long time ago. But...
I'm pretty sure this game does it. I'm pretty sure enemies keep spawning until you've advanced to a certain point and they stop.
Makes sense, because it forces you to move forwards at that point, doesn't it? Because if you keep playing cautious, they just keep punishing you for it.
Yeah. I find that slightly annoying because it's like, it's not sort of, it just doesn't feel quite sort of real, but, you know.
And then that's what you get for being a pussy and just sitting there all day.
Well, yeah. I'm a gameplay pro. I play as a sniper. I like sort of like, you know me. I don't like moving. This is the real honest.
Well, then you shouldn't be in VR, then, should you? I think, you know, not being a dick, Ram, but I think maybe that's kind of the problem. The game wants you to move.
Yeah, I get the game reason why, and yes, it does make you move. But I'm not a person who I always like to be the one. I think in the actual military, I would be the one sort of in the building right at the back with the sniper rifle. And
I was going to say, you don't mind facing your enemy face to face through the scope of a high-power sniper rifle.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's the gentlemanly way to fight.
Yeah, when they don't know you're there.
Exactly. That's my ideal way to fight. But but if you do it, you move forward, you advance. The mission, I mean, the gameplay, the enemies aren't. If you have squads with you, so single player mode, you have a AI. You can switch it off. You can just go in solo. You can have an AI squad. The AI squad AI, shall we say, is it's not great.
Right.
They will frequently walk past an enemy who will turn and start shooting them, and they will just ignore it. And
that bad.
Yeah, they are. They try and keep up. They're trying to be clever and trying to keep up with you. So if you advance, they won't move ahead until you advance, and then they'll fight. And if you advance a bit too far, they will just try and sort of come back up with you. Well, they'll do two things: either they'll hang right back and leave you to it, or they'll try and advance up with you, and in doing so, walk past everybody.
Okay.
So they're obviously trying to keep with you, but in doing so, they're being stupid about it. They're not engaging. But then the enemies are a little bit stupid as well. They'll like sort of like sometimes they'll just come like stare at you and do nothing.
Okay.
So they're a little bit stupid. So but in the grand scheme, it's fun. It's still fun to sort of shoot. It's still fun, it's still fun to sort of lean around a corner and with that. Oh, it's got a P90 in it. Just saying, because I know you'd be pleased.
I love the P90.
Yeah, you have to be rank 35 to unlock it. But there's a P90 in it.
I'll start tomorrow.
But you can sort of lean around. Oh yeah, so all your upgrades are locked away into ranks, and you get ranks by completing missions and so forth. But you can lean around corners and like you can VR, which is quite nice. It is satisfying to sort of like advance or run from cover to cover, pop out, shoot a bit, duck in, change the magazine, pop out, shoot again, and work your way forward.
Do you physically move in your play space, or do you mostly play on stick and then physically turn, or are you one of those?
Mixture of both. So I will generally run to using game movement to run to somewhere, and then I'll sort of like use my own movement to like sort of like duck around, look around a corner.
Yeah, like the micro movements.
Yeah, sort of the up close stuff. I sort of do it via. I mean, I've got a biggish play space, but not obviously an infinite play space. So I tend to sort of try and keep it.
Mate, your play space is bigger than mine.
Oh, it is. Yeah. What I do with my play space now to try and act as like a, because I find the guarding system, I find that it works, but it's a bit. You come by the time you realise you've gone out of it, you're going too fast and you misjudge it.
Yeah, sure.
So what I do now, I've got a big rug in my cabin. I move that into the centre of the room. I make sure I play with like barefoot. Or
yeah, because then you can orient yourself based on a physical object. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you get and when also you feel that you're off the rug, I know I'm about to get too close to the edge.
Yeah, sure.
Now there was one incident with the Guardian system that was all the Guardian system's fault. I had to throw a grenade. Yeah, so I had to throw a grenade, and you can have two grenades on your shoulder. I picked off and pulled the pin, and as is real, the grenade will once you pull the pin, the grenade doesn't start timing yet until you throw it because you're holding the lever that stops it. Which a lot of games get wrong. That you pull the pin, they think the grenade starts counting immediately. No, it doesn't. It doesn't until you throw it, because it'd be stupid otherwise. Pull the pin. I decided to do sort of like a underarm lob to sort of try and get a bit of distance. I throw it and instantly I feel a sudden bang and pain streaks through my hand as I've whacked my hand straight into the worktop, which makes the top of my desk. Mm-hmm. I've whacked my hand full force to throw this grenade and just bashed it in. At this point, I'm like I'm sort of like I'm still in VR. I can feel the pain coursing through my hand, but I know I know there's an enemy coming around the corner behind me, so I have to sort of like with my sore hand, I sort of spin around and sort of fire wildly at him and hope I kill him, which I did with my P90. It's like, and then sort of go, that hurt.
Fuck, I'd love it if the enemies could tell where you were based on the microphone in your headset.
Yeah, that so hurt.
And they're like, oh, mate, you want a plaster? Like, fuck off, don't patronise me, you bastard. But
really
see, that's the trick though, because that's because the new control pads have the band going over the top, don't they? So if you overhand it, the old ones would have protected your hand from like a desk or whatever. Now if you go but under, you'd smack your hand on a table. Now it's the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah, I see. I can't overhand because my roof is quite low. I can't overhand throw grenades.
Yeah,
because I will hit a light fixture.
Yeah.
Oh, one other cool thing is, you have these climbing gloves.
Okay.
So you can climb and you can do monkey bars, all that sort of stuff. But what's cool, they pretty much stick to anything. So you can just climb up the side of a building like Spider-Man.
I was going to say, can you Spider-Man it? All right.
You can. Now, you won't get very far because when you get to the top of said building, you need to sort of like, to get onto it, you need to sort of like get above it. So you have to, so any stairs or ladders you're meant to climb have like a big frame that goes above the roof.
That's why you need full body track and RAM, so you can swing your leg up there and.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could just imagine that happening. Swing one leg up and get one leg up and go. Okay, one leg's on the building. How do I get the other one up now? I mean, that's not going to work. So I need some sort of suspension system that like sort of has like four like sort of ropes that's all attached to like a weight and harness.
I was going to say, he's talking about a sex swing. What the fuck? I didn't know you were into that kind of thing,
that. And then I can swing both legs onto the roof and like sort of like
there you go.
Running. Yeah, that'd be great for space games. You can pretend you're on zero gravity.
Yeah, you need to play Lone Echo for that, by the way.
Yeah, I'll one day pick it up. So yeah, you climb to roof, and it's quite fun. You climb to roofs, and you can sort of like sniper enemies. I mean, you've got sniper rifles in it, so that's quite fun. Blasting
Can I just say, it should be said though, because you said it wasn't necessarily the Guardian system's fault. I mean, it isn't the Guardian system's fault, but the problem is we literally set up our play spaces to be as big as the room is available.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's a mistake.
Yeah. Ideally, you should set up a space in the middle of the room away from other objects. But we're like, oh yeah, but my desk is like right here, and so we draw the line right up to the desk or right up to the wall.
Which is normally fine, which is normally fine.
But you
if
shouldn't,
like,
because it's not realistically going to warn you until you hit it.
yeah, but if like normal sort of gunplay and stuff, and normal movement, you'd probably be fine. It's caused obviously the grenade was such a rapid movement. There was no way I was going to stop myself smashing my hand into that deck.
Well, sure, but then that's what I'm saying. Realistically, if, like,
Yeah.
say you're in an American house that's about 50 feet per room, you know,
Yeah.
50 by 50, you'd go, well, I'm just going to set up my play space in this corner.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
I mean, looking at my play space, the play space I have for the Vive, it says your play space is too small. Play space
Yeah.
for the Rift, your play space is too small. So, you know, you're supposed to say, right, here's a clear area of my room, and then there's, say, maybe a foot or two between the edge of my
Clearance.
play space and the telly, or a foot and a half in my play space away from desk, wall,
Yeah.
whatever, or more, ideally more, because then it will tell you, oh, by the way, you're getting close to the stuff that you don't want to be near. But because we put it right on top of the wall, even if it warns us, as you say, if the movement's too quick, you're just going to whack the wall.
Yeah, that's what if I've had space to set up, if I a big room or like a room set for VR, I would. That's what I would do. I'd basically map out on the floor some tape an area of like clearance, like a foot around the perimeter, and then when I'm setting it up, I could just map around that. Or I could just see in the camera map around that tape, and that's my clearance, and have an inner bubble, as it were.
Yeah.
And then I'd pad the walls as well. So when I decide to go, I know I'm near the Guardian system. Because you know what you do there? You go, well, I'm near the Guardian, but I've got at least another foot. And then you push beyond it and then it bounces into a wall.
So you can't do that on the Quest, because the Quest then puts you into pass-through mode.
What was that? You see the camera mode?
Yeah, you go through the Guardian, and then it pauses the game and puts you into the real world.
Yeah. The Rift does that with the headset, but I've been able to put beyond Guardian limits of the controllers, no problem.
Sure. Oh yeah, sure.
But headset, it will do the same thing. It'll put you into real world mode, as it were.
So realistically, what you want to do is you want to have your Guardian space set, a good arm's length away from the first thing you're going to punch. So you got to have put your arm on the wall, step back one, then draw your Guardian where your head is at.
Yeah.
So you don't punch anything, punch the cat, punch the kids, punch the wall, punch your PC.
Yeah. So, as I said, the game's got single player mode. It's also got co-op mode, and there's also, I believe, a versus mode as well. Co-op mode would be fun. I think that'd be worth doing. With a friend, I think it'd be worth doing co-op. So you then actually could do things like one person throw a grenade into the room and the other person's ready to storm it.
Open frag and clear, motherfucker.
Open frag and clear. No, not yet.
Unlucky.
Shit.
Is that on the Quest, I wonder?
We see. Here's the reason people are complaining about it now.
Because it got downgraded when the Quest version came out.
And I mean, I think it looks fine. If they have downgraded it, it looks fine.
It was quite a big knock, from what I understand.
Yeah. I mean, it looks good enough. Let me put it that way. It looks good enough. It's playable. It's not like the game's ruined now situation. It looks more than good enough. Play it. But yeah, that's one thing. I know people say that devs have abandoned the game with all stuff still doing, and that does feel somewhat true. Because I think the last update to the game was like end of last year. But there's still stuff that unlocking soon, that sort of stuff. Devs have now started posting stuff again. Recently, so it looks like they've had a bit. It could be simply a case of, well, obviously there was a big thing happened last year that might have knocked them back a bit.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know how big this team is, whether they're all in their own rooms or they've got a small office or what they're doing.
Well, can we also say that realistically they made tweaks to their game to make it work better on the mobile headset that was realistically always going to be more popular than PC VR, and it has proven to be more popular than PC VR. I think the backlash alone, for me personally, if I'd have made that game and they said, yeah, well, you should have been better to us. How dare you? It's like, well, I'd have probably just told them to fuck off and then not do anything else with the game.
Yeah.
Because the stress they probably got, because people went mental about that game. I completely forgot it was Old Caliber. For some reason I thought it was like Onward or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the. I think that was the jump back was. I mean, I suppose the solution is, well, they could have done it as a menu setup so that if you play on Quest, it just drops down, but then you leave the high graphics of the PC,
as most games do, which is
as most games do. So, but I don't know how big this team is. I suspect it's not a huge team, so I'm guessing that. And because generally speaking, most VR games are very much indie. There are some big publishers now getting involved. Crytek have done some, obviously Valve have done some, but a lot of VR games you look at, they're starting to kill it now. But for a long time, it was like not many companies really dared test the waters, or if they did, it'd be a small sub team doing it, rather than really sort of going behind it. So it's sort of good. And I say it's perfectly playable. I think it looks absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It's good enough. And it's fun enough.
For me, and I've had this discussion with my mate Divine, for me, I don't mind if the VR game looks shit as long as it's playable. Like if you say, if it looks shit and still plays at like 10 frames a second, then I've got serious beef with it. But as long as, like, if it looks shit and it's playing at a nice smooth frame rate and mechanically is solid, fine. Go for it. If it's all round shite, it's got to go. There's no excuse for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is true. It's absolutely fine. I mean, I've really enjoyed it. I would like to. I believe. Did you say you think you've got it in your library?
I've got it on Steam. I think I've had it for quite some time, to be honest.
I would very much like us to have a go at it in co-op.
Yeah, sounds like a plan, man.
Yeah, we can throw grenades and open fire and clear. No,
you can Spider-Man up walls.
Yeah. Well, I can do what we always said. I'll sit back with the high-powered sniper rifle, and you go in and do all this all get killy stuff.
I'll go in and do all the work.
Yeah, exactly. I've got your back, Skazz. They're all in the building. Yeah, but I've got your back if they come outside.
Yeah. I'll watch as you die. So thanks, man. Not a problem.
Skazz. Oh, there is one thing though that is fucking irritating.
What?
Absolutely. It despawns. If you drop a weapon, it despawns after a certain amount of time. Which means if you accidentally try and put your rifle back into your holster, but you miss and drop it on the floor and don't notice, if you then go back to find it, when you
does
realize
it not play a sound or anything when you?
No. Well, it might do, but it's hidden enough, not in combat and stuff, you might not hear it.
Okay.
You go back to where your weapon is dropped, it's not there anymore. It's despawned, and twice have I found a situation where it's like, where's my rifle gone? Oh shit! All I've got is my pistol.
So what you're saying is perhaps they should have like a magnetic holster.
Yeah, I think if you pick up another weapon and put it in the holster, overwrite it.
And if you
pick up weapons,
and if
drop it just swing back, put it back
within reason, of course.
Within reason, yeah. If you throw it away from yourself, that's different. But if you move your hand anywhere close to your side and let go, it should go back to it. Does. I mean, don't get me wrong, it will do that, but there are just certain areas where you can just put your weapon too far out and drop it, and it will just fall to the ground. And I've lost rifles, I've lost sniper rifles. I had a situation once where basically all I had on me was a grenade. So I had to find an enemy, throw a grenade at his feet, hope he didn't run away, and so he could die. Then I had to quickly run and pick his gun up.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So that's So that's how I'd prefer to. Oh, it has got some interesting actually design features in it as well. So if you've got your rifle in your hand, if you've just got like held down at your chest and you move and you go straight, and you'll sprint quite far. As soon as you pick up to aim down it, it will slow you down because you're now in sort of like a combat stance.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So no, it can tell by the position of the rifle what sort of mode you want. So you find yourself naturally lowering the gun to run and then picking up. To
you actually start to build
stance.
proper habits.
Yeah, you do. You you won't like find yourself just constantly behind iron sights running forwards.
Well,
'Cause
yeah,
you
because
can't.
because even when you see people moving at speed, looking down sides, they're short stepping, aren't they? You know,
Yeah,
quick, tiny little movements rather than
yeah.
full blown
More
sprinting.
more of a shuffle, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
fast shuffle.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's got some. It has got some really neat little design features. It's a fairly, apart from the few little bit annoying bits here, it's a fairly, it feels a fairly well polished, rounded experience. I can't fault actually that thing. It feels so nice. It feels better than Onward. Onward felt very ropey.
But have you played onwards since? Like, have there been any patches for it, or are you
I
just going
have
by what
not.
you played before?
Let's go by what I played last time. So it may have patched, they may have improved it.
Okay.
But this from that point of view, it feels better than Onward. But I might go back to Onward to see if they've improved it. The guns probably feel, I would say Onward guns feel slightly better, just by gut feeling. But also it's once I played, so to go back and give that a go and see. But it's overall, it's a really neat game, and yeah, I'd love to go co-op in it and open frag and clear and
Yeah, I'm cool with that, man. I mean,
yeah.
you know, I'll play anything in VR. I mean, me and Divine have pretty much played VR every single day of the week recently, even if it's just sitting in VR chat, just sitting in VR chat, not moving around, not playing mini games, just literally sat there talking. 2 or 3 hour sessions, no problem.
Yeah.
Demio playing a virtual tabletop game, you know, dice and little figures and that, just sitting there talking. I love sitting in VR, even if I can't see it all properly. I fucking absolutely love it. In fact, it's weird actually. I've been dreaming about it. It's almost like when I wake up, it's almost as if I've lifted my headset off in my dream, and I'm like, oh, I was enjoying that. You know,
I was going to ask, so in your dream, do you know you're in a VR space in your dream, or do you just sort of like feel you're just there and you? How's that sort of?
I think I'm obsessed. I'm just my brain just seems to want to be back in VR.
I'm just looking through the comments quickly. Jimmy says, "Welcome to Rare Nerds. We don't do moving or stealth." I try to do stealth, but it doesn't always go very well.
Got a stealth shotgun, son.
Yeah. He normally does. He normally stops after a couple of hours as well. He once punched a desk lamp playing a VR boxing game.
Well, I poked my dog with a Vive wand yesterday, so.
You sick man.
Well, it was weird. Like, I'm just sat there on the floor playing, I think it was Demio, and I thought I might have shuffled round to, like, punch my sofa, because my sofa is like an L shape. And I was like, no, I couldn't have spun round that far without strangling myself with a cable. And there was just like this kind of shuffle as my hands started moving. I was like, what? So I just kind of poked the air with this fucking controller. And I think I boshed the dog in the head. I was like, I lifted up my headset and there he was, just like sitting, like staring at me like, what the fuck was that for, mate? It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't realise you were there. It's like, you just whacked me with that pointy stick.
I had that once when I was playing headset and I was in VR and my sister opened the door to the room and all the dogs come running in around my feet. It's like, oh shit, I know they're here. I can hear them. I can feel
cable dance.
Yeah, no, where are you? But I was playing the lab. At the time with the little robot you can throw a stick for, and as I bent down to pick the stick up, I felt one of the dogs. So it's like it felt very realistic.
You picked up the dog and threw the dog.
It. Yeah. Ow! Boom.
Fetch.
Yeah. Fetch yourself.
You bastard! Bring yourself back so I can throw you again.
Yeah.
Oh, just. The disasters of VR just reminds me of the old school days of the Wii remote flying through people's TVs and smacking children and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're trying to combat that with magic pass-through features, but it just doesn't it just doesn't work.
I think what they need to do now is they need to properly enforce it, and they need to have like little electrodes running along all the sort of controllers, and if you go too far, it just gives you a shock.
That'd be brilliant. That would be beautiful.
Imagine some full-on VR tracking suit that basically when it basically it's almost like a taser. When you die in game, it just tases you to the ground.
Mate, I would love that. I would
Yeah.
love that. If you could get other
There's,
people to wear that in VR so I could kick them in VR, that'd be
there's
great.
actually an episode of the X-Files where they play some sort of like VR game, and that's what happens to them when the guys die. They get electrocuted, and so they can't get up again. So the game like resets to simulate death.
Simulate death by causing you absolute agony over and over and over again to make you stay on the floor.
Yeah. I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
The screaming does eventually stop, although you'll probably be dead at that point.
Yeah, that is an episode worth watching, because the person who wrote that episode, I don't think has ever seen anything about computer games ever.
Right.
Yeah, because they have this issue where there's like they randomly program like this NPC who's like ultra deadly and stuff, but she actually kills people for real. And their solution to this isn't to shut the game down. It's to hire in the most elite game player they can find and send him in. They find this Japanese guy and just like send him into in a game he's never played before. But they're all they're all sort of gushing. Oh, that's so and so who's like the best gamer in the world. He might be good at Dota. Who knows? But anyway, they send him in, and of course he gets absolutely murdered. So
brilliant.
Yeah. I'll put, if I can find it, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. I can't remember the name of the episode, but I'll find a link to it.
Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. So, I mean, have you now kind of reconsidered your stance, and are you willing to now try more shooters because they're not? Because cool.
Well, I actually sat down and thought about it. I said I had the thought before I played the game. I thought actually a shooter probably wouldn't actually work very well if it was totally accurate, because your average gamer isn't as fit as if they're an ex-Marine or ex-SES, that's fine. That's fine. They can do that. They can play that. They can be a special version of the game just for them.
Mm-hmm.
They can go. They can go in like the options. Like, yes, I'm a former Special Forces soldier, and I still got all my look joints all still work.
Because the thing is, you can still usually assign crouch and stuff to a button, but it just doesn't feel right, does it? You lose that sense of space in VR.
Yeah, it feels very wrong.
Because all of a sudden your character's legs are bent, and then you kind of look around, you're like, oh, hang on a minute, am I low enough to be behind this wall? I don't know, bam, you're dead. Whereas obviously in a regular game, in a flat screen game, you press Control or C or whatever it is you've got mapped for crouch control. All of the walls are designed to be at that height, so that if you go prone, you're good. But in VR, that's not necessarily the case, is it?
They are kind of that. A lot of the walls they set up are actually at a height where you don't have to fully crouch down. They're like you can sort of just lower yourself like a couple of feet and you'll be behind them.
Yeah.
And the AI is also very kind that you can do things like take cover behind like a very thin tree, and the AI will try and shoot through the tree. So you can sort of I can see there either side of the tree, but I'm safe here. I'm actually only danger I'm going to have is from the odd bullet that strays off, and hits my shoulder or something. But in general, I'm pretty safe behind this small tree or a shrubbery, perhaps. Yeah, it's fun.
This sapling.
The sapling. Yes, this sapling will protect me. Zero Combat, fun game, fun military game. I do recommend people give it a go. Ignore the negative reviews. Give it a go.
Are the negative reviews, are they still going on just about the graphics drop?
All the recent reviews are the current thing they're going on about is lack of updates from developers. Is their current thing?
I think what you said earlier about the whole, there's been a bit of an issue going on around the world that could potentially slow down or stop development of things. Lots of companies have stopped updating games because of it.
Yeah.
So
you don't know how that's. I mean, if you're potentially, if you've got an office full of higher machines to develop on, if you're doing 3D modeling that sort of stuff, you're fairly high rate. they might not have those machines at home, and unless you're going to then say, "Oh, come and take a PC home and set it up at home and do or follow us up in a VPN so you can all link together and stuff," they are office based like that. Then it's not actually stuff like that. Sort of is not that it's doable, obviously, but it's not that
Think
easy.
about it though as well. Most indie developers probably live in flats or small apartments, and if you're building a VR game, you're going to want a reasonable play space. So they probably have a dedicated play testing play space in their office. If they can't get to it, they might not be able to test as well as they probably should.
No, exactly.
Because I mean, a chap I know is since lockdowns have eased and all that. He's recently gone to an office for a play space for a game called. I can't remember what it's called now, but I think he's working with the company or helping the company develop it, and they have a massive area just as a VR play space.
Yeah.
Like if he were to run, he would be well outside of the Guardian system. So I think the Vive and the Index has got a 2 meter by 2 meter maximum area.
Is it as small as that?
Something like that.
Well,
it might be 5. It's 2 or 5.
5 sounds more reasonable.
Might be 5. So I think 2 is the smallest. 2 and 2 is the smallest. 5 and 5 is the biggest.
That sounds more reasonable.
Yeah, he's got enough space that he can have the biggest play space and still keep running for a reasonable amount of time before he hits a wall.
Yeah.
Which is realistically how VR should be played, but
yeah,
you know.
Well, you could actually, with the inside tracking the crest, potentially you could actually have a massive play space, and you could just run around the levels with no teleportation required or in-game movement required.
Funny you say that. No, I haven't played it yet, but old Jimmy Devine keeps on telling me to try out. Is it Space Pirate Trainer, which is just a shooter? I guess like Time Crisis. I haven't played it, so I don't know. But it's kind of like Time Crisis or whatever. We just kind of duck in and out of cover and shoot things as they come. Well, the Quest version had an update recently where it enables an arena shooter mode. So imagine you go to like a sports hall or like a basketball court or something like that. You can actually set it up so that it kind of it reads the size of the play area that you define, and you have another friend set up their play area in the same area, and then it will actually build up 3D walls around that play area, and you can run around that entire play space. And then when it sees the other human player, their avatar pops up on the screen, so you can actually shoot them.
That's cool.
It actually turns like a big room into an arena shooter.
That's cool.
Pretty neat. VR making an empty room look really cool.
I'm going to take it to a massive field.
Yeah, but that would be it, wouldn't it?
This field's 20 acres. Let's see how far this can do it.
But that would be fantastic, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Just wait. I just these people just driving past the field and just seeing these two guys just randomly running around with a white headset.
Yeah.
Things
just a tad weird, but
it's all going well until you run to the back of a cow. And then it all
and then everything goes
shitty.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. You run by a cow, it kicks you and then shits on you. That's what's going to happen there.
Mate, you slip on cow fat. You're running along. What the fuck happened?
If the game would have to have some sort of way of detecting that, so like saying, you could say like KOs, cowpat.
The SSS fucking
it
mode.
comes up in the corner.
Shit switch.
Yeah, so and so was took out by cowpat.
That'd be fantastic. I mean, it's made me actually want to go to like an indoor basketball court or whatever, just to try something like that. Like go to an old school gym or whatever.
Yeah.
Actually,
Rent one.
Well, I was going to say there are a few abandoned schools in our town, isn't there?
Yeah.
The plot thickens, yeah.
Yeah, let's go with the skill. So what? So why are you in here, urban exploring? No, we're not. We're just here to do VR gaming.
Yeah, we ain't got time for that shit. Get out of the way. You're ruining the game.
Yeah.
If you get pistol whipped, it's not my problem. Just crack some Rosa upside the head.
It's all well and good until like some random homeless dude shanks you.
Mate, he tries to shank you. Do you beat him over the head with your fucking touch controller without realising he was even there?
You shout, "There's too real! It's too real!"
It's repeatedly punching him in the face. Come on, mate, I just broke my controller. What was that? Puts in a boss
dear,
character.
I've bludgeoned someone to death with a Vive controller.
That'd be fantastic. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
I've just shoved my knuckles up someone's ass.
Yeah.
Mate, that's a 250 quid pair of controllers you've just wrecked.
Knowing my luck, if we did the field version, I'd go to throw my grenade, I'd throw it straight through, and it's like, this has got warm all of a sudden. Oh no. Skazz, I've lost my controller up a cow's back end.
Not my problem, son. Open fragging clear.
I'm sorry, Daisy, I've got to go back in to find it.
Oh no, I've lost the other one. Don't stick your head up there, Ram. No, my headset. I just imagine, you know when you scuff plastic and you get like all the dirt in that, it looks really dirty in that. Just imagine that you got your Quest and your controls and it's just all shit brown. Looks like it's gone through a fucking war zone.
Yeah. Well, it has.
That's my outside Quest.
Yeah. Yeah. As I'm putting out the count, does this count as inside-out tracking or outside-in tracking?
I turned on the pass-through mode and the AR fucking mode just went, what the fuck is this? This is a load of shit, isn't it?
Yeah, but wouldn't it be hilarious? 'Cause you know when you put the control down, you can see it.
Yeah, so it just shows you where it is. Reach it, reach it.
Yeah, I'm nearly there. Oh, there it is. Yep, here we go.
It's got the little L on it to tell you that's the left-hand one. There you go. Oh, grim, mate. But yeah, I mean, they're doing some really cool stuff with AR and VR at the moment, and I mean, I think it can only really get better. So one of the things I like about the Quest is because it's mobile, it's wireless, it opens up so many possibilities. The idea that you could have a massive play space and play shooters and other stuff like that is really, really, really cool.
It's also great for like if you did want to just pop around with friends and have a game, you can, because you don't have to take a PC or anything with you. You literally just pop it in your bag and go and say, "Hey mate, you want to go?" Oh, I've got friends who would like to have a go at VR. It's like, well, if I had a Quest, I could literally just pack bags, go and say, right, well, we'll do it this afternoon. Just clear a bit of space and off we go.
And I'll be honest, it's one of the things I really love it because I prefer PC VR. Right, if I'm going to stream it, I like to be on PC VR because I get the best quality. I get to see my chat. It's a lot easier to do that kind of stuff in PC VR. However, the cool thing is, or the bit that I'm trying to get to, is that, like, you know, if you had a Quest and we were playing, say, Demio, VR chat, Rec Room, one of the other multiplayer games, most of them are cross-play.
Yeah.
So you could be well away from your PC, just pop on your headset, and bam, there you are.
Yeah.
Still playing the same games. Right, you got a bit of a graphics quality drop, frame rate drop, maybe. But depending on how well the game is optimized, I don't think you'd really let that get in the way, as long as it's functional, because you can play it fucking anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, that's really, really, really cool. I will say that some games I think have taken way too much of a graphical hit. They're not even anywhere near what they used to be. Like on PC, like Robo Recall looks fucking terrible.
That is quite old now. That was one of the original Oculus games, so it's fairly old.
But I mean, like the PC version looks pretty good. The Quest version looks like it came off of a Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Presumably that was the original Quest version as well, so that would have been a pretty massive.
But then they do tend to have universal binaries too, so that if I buy it on Quest and then install it on my Quest 1, like it's a Quest 2, go on to Quest 1, it will have different graphics settings available to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, there isn't really much of an excuse. I mean, they could update it, but then they don't have to, I suppose. But yeah, it's just they're really, really cool devices. I'm really glad they make it cross-play so that you on Steam can play with, say, Divine on his Quest, and I can jump in on, say, Oculus, and we're all in the same. We're all in the same match, or we're all in the same game. I like that. if they started to lock down the platforms like they do in so much other stuff, I don't think VR would be half as fun.
No, it would not. It's the old. It has, yeah. It's still got its all through. So I do have a fear that it will start going down the route of, oh no, probably not so much about, but I can see the Quest half and face or Meta, Facebook, whatever you want to call them now, going the route of, oh, actually we're going to lock it out. I can just see that sort of thing happening with those sort of people, though. I can feel it going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's still vulnerable to that shut it down and that's not how people use it.
Did they not leak a document recently saying that Meta wanted to kind of... What was that thing that Microsoft said? Something extinguish? I can't remember what the saying is now. Something expand, extinguish.
Expand, extinguish.
Whatever it is that Microsoft... I can't... That's probably actually completely the wrong words, but where they say that they buy it, they expand, and then they just destroy the thing that... They take what they can, and then they just destroy the thing that they... I don't know. It's the idea that they crush competition so they don't have a chance. They want to be the only one in the field.
Yeah. Well, there is the concept of companies would buy if a small company comes up with something innovative.
They buy it and
out. Yeah, they used to happen a lot with actually believe it or not, with gun manufacturers in the early sort of 1900s. They used to if someone came up with a good idea. Then no matter if one of the big ones hadn't come up with, they'd buy the smaller weaponsmith's idea, and then they'd patent it, and then they would just lock it down and never use it.
Oh, that was it. It was embrace, extend, and extinguish. Also known as embrace, extend, exterminate, is a phrase that the U.S. Department of Justice found that was used internally by Microsoft to describe its strategies.
So, buy a company, hey, you're great. Read it for what it can, and then just delete it and get rid of it.
Yeah, or they embrace the technology. They extend their reach because they've got all the money and the resources to undercut everyone else and then just crush them. I think that's kind of the point of it.
To be honest, that just sounds to me like standard business practice.
Yeah, but then like I'm saying, this was originally set like back in the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that's been going on for decades, centuries, even.
For sure.
I think that's sort of I mean, I think at the moment I think there's a possibility to do it. I don't think Valve would ever going to reach a complete locking theirs down because it's very not what they're like.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously HTC, I saw them as a third party in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Oculus, I could see going the route of no, you can only play on Oculus stuff. I could see it.
Well, they already do though, don't they?
They've got their exclusives, but you can use an Oculus headset on Steam. I'm saying it's in the route of going down of you can't use it with Steam.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him doing that route, even though it's short-sighted and
that would be a very odd lockout, and they would lose a lot of customers.
Yeah,
but then, given that Meta wants to become the next internet,
then you think if they're so you think that if they stay on the cheap bandwagon, people buy it because it's cheap.
Yeah.
And get themselves locked in, and once people get locked in, if they then get shut down, people are like less keen to move away.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've got them.
Well, it's the same with Apple users. Realistically,
Yeah.
they get the iPhone, they get an iPad, they get a MacBook, and then well, I've already got them now, so that's where I'm going to stay. Even if there's a product that's far superior, they won't even touch it because they've got that
You're
other
in
thing.
too deep.
Yeah,
you're in too deep. So.
I mean, have you thought of a potentially a different headset then now that Meta's...
I want to. So, I was saving up for an index.
Mm-hmm.
Putting a bit aside for an index.
Have you done any more research into headsets since we last spoke? Because
not really,
realistically, you're still living in the days of the early 2000s when the index was only now becoming a thing, or 2019 when the index was a thing.
I was going to get an index. I'm now hanging. I think I spoke to you the other day. I said I want to sort of part of me because my Rift is fine. It works. It does the job. I'm not desperate to upgrade. I'm not like I'm not itching to upgrade. So I'm at the stage now where it's like, well, what if I might wait to see what the next things are going to come out. So obviously next year we're going to have. I still can't remember the name of what their Meta the new thing, the Comatose, the Chilean, the Project Fancy, or whatever, the new
They didn't say.
headset.
I don't think they said it was due next year. Did they not say that they were going to talk more about it next year?
I thought they said it was going to be due end of next year.
Well, fair enough.
Whatever it is, the Project Cambodia, whatever it is,
Cambria or whatever, wasn't it? Or
Cambria, something like that. And then
Whatever.
Valve are looking like they're going to be announcing something new. I want to see what they announce and see what comes up and see if it's worth doing that. Also, I'm going to look more at the HTC stuff because I completely forgot about HTC stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned it.
Yeah, so
I'm
you
gonna
and
look
I
at
have been
that as
talking
well.
about it recently, off stream and off podcast. And I said that realistically, because HTC started with Valve, they took Oculus and Valve technology, and then they took the prototypes and kind of smushed them into a ready-to-go package. And then when their deal with Valve kind of went away, they continued to make headsets. But the trick is that because of how tightly integrated into the Steam VR ecosystem, the Vive and all that is, you can use Vive base stations, or you can use your Vive with the Steam version 2 base stations. You can use your Index with Vive base stations, Gen 1 base stations, your Knuckles with Gen 1 base stations. You can go to the Cosmos with Gen 1 or Gen 2 base stations. You can have inside out or base station, base track and tracking with the Cosmos if you want to. There are just so many different options there through HTC. I'm not saying that they're fantastic headsets by any stretch.
Whose
But
hardware is actually in the Index? Because Valve are really a software company. They might have they'll contract somebody to develop that and build that. Because that's obviously where the Vive came from, HTC Vive. So whose actual hardware is behind the Index?
ooh, should we look it up?
Yeah,
That might be worth looking up. Because because I was sure that a lot of the tracking was actually developed between Oculus and Valve, was it not? And then when Facebook jumped in, or were jumping in, and then so I'm sure that HTC basically took prototypes made by Valve, and then just made them kind of ready for market. But I'd say look it up before we,
Let's have a quick look. According to Wikipedia, it's manufactured by Valve.
Well, yeah, because I mean, think about the control pads and that. Valve have an entire division for hardware development. They haven't been just software for a while, but
no, I know, but I've always
had this idea that maybe there was a kind of a shadow company in the background doing the hardware.
It may be theirs, but a lot of the underlying hardware is probably somebody else's. It's a bit like
rebadged kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So rebadged, but plus changed a little bit. So of course that's why they originally tied up with HTC, who is a hardware company. That's obviously why they originally tied up with them. Mm-hmm. So I was basically going to say it wouldn't surprise me if actually it was although it's not it was made by HTC under license.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me at all. But it does say it's made by them. So there you go. Valve have actually got a hardware unit division going on. I didn't realise they got to that stage.
Well, I thought they were like that with the old Steam controllers and that.
Yeah, but I always thought there was a case of they came up with the idea, discuss it, but then ultimately it's not made by them. They contact a company who is a specialist.
But then I understand what you mean. Like most companies do that. Like Intel don't actually make their own chips. They design them.
Yeah.
And then they send them somewhere else to get them like fabricated.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Company who's there's fabrication plants. There's also manufacturers who that's what they manufacturers. Oh, there's a lot of stuff you buy. The hardware. A simple example: Bluetooth headphones. All Bluetooth headphones have the same control chip inside, made by one group.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why they all sound the same, all surface. So that's even if they've got different brands on the outside, they're all underneath the same. There's usually, when it comes to hardware stuff, there's usually like half a dozen companies who actually make it. Mm-hmm. but there'll be
Designed
500
by
companies.
isn't the same as made by.
Yeah, there'll be 500 companies who, I say, design it, but actually underneath underneath this is all, underneath this is all NVIDIA hardware underneath this, or it's branded John Bloggs' fantastic gamepad. It's actually NVIDIA underneath. So I was just curious how Valve actually were full on hardware manufacturing it, and apparently they are.
So what's made you think HTC then? What?
Well, you were saying that it seemed like such a good sort of deal, and the fact that you can switch things out and it's more customizable. I said I completely forgot about HTC. I'll be honest, part of me had thought that HTC, because Vive was a joint venture. Part of me thought that HTC might have bin the whole thing off, and Valve went their own way.
No, they kept going. I mean, they made the Vive Pro 2, or the Vive Pro, Vive Pro 2, which is a reasonably new one. Vive Pro 2, you can buy the Pro 2 headset that I think only came out last year and still use it with your 2016 Vive kit. Because it's just the upgraded headset. You can just buy the headset separately and use it with all your older kit. Cosmos Elite, loads and I mean, don't get me wrong, they've had plenty of fucking flops. No headset is perfect yet, but it's a case of just finding the one that works best for you.
Yeah.
I like the idea of HTC stuff on the grounds that if I bought a Cosmos, like I said, I could then change the faceplate and use it with my trackers at home, my base stations at home. So I've got the better tracking at home. Not so great setup when I'm out and about, but I mean, it's still one headset. And it isn't an Oculus headset either.
Yeah.
Although they do actually make a standalone headset, HTC. Way more expensive than the Quest, mind you, but they do make one.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right. Well, that's interesting. That. So I'll look in more into the HTC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I might see how much an index on eBay goes for.
About maybe £400-500, maybe.
Let's have a look. There's quite a few on here. Well, the three officers spotted come up on the first screen. They seem to be going for around about between £500 and £700.
Would that be okay for you, or would you just rather a new headset?
I could probably if I could pay £600 for one, I'd be happy with that.
Why not look into something like the HP Reverb G2? That's only about £600, and that's from what I hear, it's a pretty fucking good headset. They've just started to revise it, so all of the reviews that came out before now or the last few months, they're null and void because they've started to change most of it. They're doing hardware revisions on it.
I'll have a look more into it. Let's have a look at chat. Kind of remind me of a Stargate episode where they keep doing the ground day. I think that's when we're discussing like real recent VR. And there was a Groundhog Day Stargate one. There's also one where they did do VR, like a training program. You got arcade mode, like the arena mode in your Pirate Warrior, whatever it is. We're here for your spaceman. Jimmy's going to go do some more VR stuff in a minute, and he's back on the crazy train full on. Good for you. Good on you.
There you go. I'm glad to hear that, actually, because Divine was so hardcore into VR back in the day, and just kind of it kind of some things happened and it kind of fizzled out for him. I was like, but mate, you really, really liked VR. And when I kind of bust my Quest out again and went back to PC, that was one of the best things. That cross-play thing. He didn't need a hardcore PC to play the same games I was. We didn't have to be on the same platform.
Yeah.
Because they were cross-play. That was absolutely fucking brilliant. We've played loads of games cross-play.
And apparently he's found that his MacBook can stream Quest VR not too bad.
There you go.
There we go.
Beautiful.
One last game for us to talk about.
Okay.
Before we cut up. Game we've both played, which has got VR, but we've not played it in VR, and that's Forewarned.
Yeah. Phasmaphobia, but Egyptian teleporting demons.
I can't say if I prefer it more to Phasmaphobia or not. But you're absolutely right. It's exactly Phasmaphobia. So Phasmaphobia was a ghost hunting game. You went to a house, tried to ID a ghost, and eventually the ghost would turn hostile and would attack you and kill you. If you managed to ID it, though, you got them a bonus and off you went. Forewarned, same thing, but you're an Egyptian tomb, so you have to get into a tomb, find a Magi's treasure by accessing a.
You have to identify it and then get its treasure.
Yeah, you identify to get to the inner vault. You have there's 4 options to pick from on the vault's name, and you have to use evidence you find to determine which one it is. You get it right, vault opens up. You go in. You can grab the treasure. Once you grab the treasure, the entrance to the tomb will lock down, and you then have to find a switch to open it back up again. The switch won't spawn until you found the treasure.
Mm-hmm.
The Magi's themselves will also spawn as soon as you find the treasure, or if you get it wrong, they'll spawn immediately before you've got in there. And then once you find the switch, you get out of the tomb, and off you go. It's very fun. In some ways, it's different to Phasmophobia in that the threat could sort of disappear. You didn't know where it was all the time. Whereas Forewarned, you sort of once you know where it is, you know where it is.
Yeah.
Some are like, I mean, they're quite, and there are methods to defeat them in reality. So there's the basic one, who's like your traditional mummy. He sort of comes at you, and you can sort of like hold him off a little bit of fire. Eventually, he gets fed up with that and will come and kill you. But he's fairly easy to avoid if you sort of watch out. But he can corner you, and it is once they get you, you're done. We have that one who's got like sort of the mummy on his back. He fucking moves around like lightning, so he can teleport.
Yeah.
And also he can see your lights. You have to put your lights out, which basically it's
You're
a
stuffed
nightmare.
at that point.
Yeah, you are at that point. Have we counted any others yet? It's just Indentum, hasn't we've had dealings with. I think
We might have identified a couple of the others, but we did do a few gold runs, so we just legged it to buy better gear.
Yeah, we did. There were, we have had a few where we just wanted to get gear, so we got. I know there was a couple where the switch spawned like right next to the entrance, so I had to get straight out without ever encountering it. They obviously some of them will actually reanimate the dead bodies in the tomb, so that your tomb will have mummies in it as you go around, and some of them will be reanimatable. They'll attack you, but you can set them on fire, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, because it lights up the room too.
It's the best light in the game.
It is.
It is. There's also traps, which is quite neat. So
spike traps in the floor, your standard big boulders, and poison traps, snake pits.
Slicey dices. Don't forget the slicey dices.
Oh god, yeah, the swingies from the ceilings and the crushy walls.
Yeah, lots of little traps. You can take about 4 or 5 hits before you're dead.
Yep.
And the tombs themselves are also randomly generated.
Yep.
The sort of like entrance tomb isn't. The sort of like upper level entrances standards, but the actual when you sort of find it and go into the actual tomb, it's randomly generated. That sort of adds a lot more replayability to it because Phasmophobia is basically the same 5 maps.
Yeah.
I think they've added another one now, but still basically the same food. So you sort of got your head around them. There's not sort of enough differentiation. Whereas this, every time you go down, you are exploring a completely fresh place. You do spend a few minutes exploring around, finding the doors, working your way out. You have to plan it a little bit.
Yeah.
The sound design is fantastic.
Yep. Pretty solid. I mean, if you're using the in-game chat as an example, you will actually hear voices echo as you move away. If a player dies, they can come back as a mummy.
Yep, either good or bad.
And so you can choose to either side with the Magi or side with the rest of your party. And you can talk through that, and it'll do all the whole voice changer effects and stuff like that. It's atmospheric. It's very atmospheric. As soon as when you're above ground, not really any echo or anything. You're just talking to each other normally, and then as soon as you go into the tomb, it becomes very echoey, very atmospheric. It's really, really nice actually, and the quality of the in-game chat's pretty nice too.
It is. It is very good. You've got upgradable gear as well, so your gear. You can like sort of like your smartwatch you use to communicate with, as that has a range on it. So in bigger tombs, we've only done the small tombs are pretty big.
Yeah.
To be fair, for 2 people,
you can still get lost quite easily.
Yeah, and we did a few times. I mean, small. I think to do them, you'd want at least 3 of you to do a medium-sized tomb, and probably 4 of you to do the full large-sized tomb. 2 people do would be a real challenge.
Yeah,
because they are so big and so easy to get turned round on. But yeah, the in-game chat, and also and I do recommend using in-game chat because it does add a lot to the atmosphere. But yeah, you can upgrade your like flashlights and your torches. You can upgrade you can obviously you start off with a helmet torch. You start off with a like hand torch. You start with a burning torch. You know, when you can light on fire. But you need to have a lighter if you to do that. You get a guide counter. You get a compass. It's like your base gear, and these all can be used to detect evidence. So your light torch could be flickered. Your proper flamey torch that could be blown out by the magi as well. So you follow little bits of evidence. They all do something, which is cool actually.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. You go to upgrade stuff. Other stuff you can get is like a radar. You can get a metal detector, which supposedly is meant to be able to find the spikes to the ground. But I didn't have a lot of success with that.
That was fun.
I didn't have a great deal of success. Like, well, everywhere's a spike apparently.
Well, it was fun until I ran into the room, accidentally grabbed your metal detector, and then dropped the thing I needed on the floor, and it wouldn't let me pick it back up. But
yeah. But yeah, and there's lots of sort of missions as well. A bit like Phasmaphobia usually has 4 objectives:
find gold, find proof of human remains or mummified remains. Take a photograph of the inner tomb and of the Magi itself.
Yeah, find a lore book. Lots of and they all just add to your experience and so forth. I found it very neat actually. I've really enjoyed drawing Forewarned at the moment. Again, it's another game that I think would be fun to play in VR. I think it would work better with more than 2 people.
Yeah.
You could then have somebody up top. You could like set up like radar sensors.
Well, we didn't even realistically check to see if we were being tracked on the map, like in Phasmaphobia.
There's just 2 of you.
Well, no, that's what I mean. But because normally we were just faffing around and checking it in Phasmaphobia, whereas in this one, because the tombs are so big, neither of us have actually really bothered to go and check.
No.
So if we had extra players, because I don't even know if we are tracked on the map.
We'll have to have a look next time we play it.
Sure.
One of us will go down. We'll have a look and see, and we can try and work out where things are. Because then, if you had someone with a radar, they could like say, "Oh, mummy's coming to your left, help guide you out."
Yeah.
You can. It's So one thing. So our current sort of strategy, which worked quite well, is because it turns out when you're dead, you can still use the switches.
Yep.
So
surprise that was, wasn't it?
That was a surprise. So the one where we did quite well, basically, we got separate. We went still looking at switches, and as soon as you sort of went in, the big boss bad, he teleported right at the bottom of the stairs where I was, so I couldn't go down, and I was stuck there. Because every time he would go for a bit, then must come back immediately. So I was completely stuck. But you were off downstairs searching. I was like, I don't know how Skazz is going to get out because he's stuck as well. Well, then at some point he must have killed you.
Mm-hmm.
And because I could hear you as a mummy.
Yeah.
And then I heard the door open. I was like, oh, he can open the door. So I was able to get up and go and leave and get out. Which is handy. So I think our culture is one of us stays by the stairs. If the other person goes and looks. If they die, at least then they can still activate the truck, and one of us can get out.
Yeah,
and still get the treasure. You don't get so much XP if you die as a mummy, but take it in turns to die. You're all right. But it's very neat game for. It's really neat. I think it's probably I think it's actually probably if I had to pick one or two, as I wasn't too sure at stuff. Actually, now I think about it, I'd probably say I prefer this to Phasmaphobia.
Agreed.
Because it's just a bit more involved.
Yeah.
There's a
As
bit
you
more
say,
to do.
when you played Phasmaphobia, you learnt where the circuit breakers were. You learnt where each of the rooms were. I mean, there got to points where I was navigating some of the smaller houses in the dark.
Yeah.
So it just the fact that you could learn the environments kind of made it a bit wobbly.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be very hard to do Phasmophobia procedural generation because the thing about houses is they have to be somewhat logical.
Yeah, sure.
And it wouldn't really work. Whereas an underground tomb, it doesn't matter, how illogical it is because it's an underground tomb.
Well, you don't even think about it, do you? At the end of the day,
No.
I mean, because there have been some bits in there, and you're like, "What the fuck is that there for?" But at the end of the day, does it really matter?
Yeah, I would say Phasmophobia's levels, obviously, because they're crafted, feel a lot better in a way because they are actually crafted and they feel like a lived-in place. Whereas this obviously is just generally the same tile set wherever you go. They're saying everything looks the same. So perhaps more variety in the tile sets would be quite nice if they could do something like that.
But then, cut stone usually looks the same as any other cut stone of
Yeah.
that period. However,
Yeah.
I would probably say actually though that Phasmophobia after a while didn't feel like it had any atmosphere. Like it lost its shine. Whereas Forewarned, even if it does look the same, the echoey corridors and all that kind of stuff, the whoosh of the Magi coming by and extinguishing all the torches and that was so much more impactful than the stuff we did in Phasmophobia. Very little of the stuff in Phasmophobia actually made me go, "Oh shit, the thing's here." I think most of the time that was just put on when we were streaming it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that you can find them. The Magi is always actually slightly visible. Initially, he had like sort of a cloud,
Yeah.
so you can actually see him and find him early on, which is kind of cool. So you always sort of you know where the threat is. Whereas Phasmophobia is like, well, where the hell is it? I don't know. I'm not sure if I should move or not. Or should I just stay here? Whereas when it's about stuff, you sort of think about things. So yeah, I would say it's. I'm gonna cough now, I'm afraid. Sorry. It's took the lesson. It's very much a case of they've looked at Phasmophobia, took the lessons from it, and have gone like, what doesn't work? Let's fix them.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's it actually feels more polished as well.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Oh yeah, by a fucking long way. No two ways about it. It's night and day. Maybe Phasmophobia is there now.
It's a lot better because I played it fairly recently. It's a lot better now.
Okay, cool.
They've done fair amount of work to it. It's still in the same garage. At the start, the main thing is a bit more quality of life stuff. So the journal's been improved.
Yeah.
Dramatically. So like Forewarned has that screen now where as you select evidence types, it'll narrow down what is on the screen. You have to like look through and work out based on reading each like sort of page. So it'll narrow it down for you and say, "Oh, it's this." Phasmophobia now does that. As you pick evidence types, it has like a list of all the possible ghosts, and it'll cross them off
Okay.
as you pick them, as you narrow it down, so you get an idea of what it is. So that they've improved. There's a lot of quality of life stuff improvements with Phasmophobia.
Sure.
Some new gear has been put in. So they have done a lot of improvement. But yeah, Forewarned will be another game to try on VR actually as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, I just want to talk about it. There's already a couple episodes up on the channel. There'll be a couple more episodes coming up. It's a bit delayed this week because I've had a very busy work week this week.
Agreed.
Same. Hopefully, yeah. So hopefully I'll have a couple episodes up this week, and you can join us on our. That leads us nicely. In fact, you can join us on our game stream for another Forewarned, which is on the 9th of November at 8:30 GMT.
Fantastic.
And unless anything else from Skazz?
No, mate. I'm done. I've played a lot of games in VR at the moment, but I don't think I've learned enough about them to realistically talk about them. Like, I'm really enjoying Demio, the tabletop dungeon crawler RPG thingy, but I've only played as like 2 classes of the 4 in the game, and I think, realistically, I'd have to play as all of them to be able to say how they work mechanically and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
but it's really fucking fun.
We'll have a chat about our next one then, shall we?
Fantastic. Cool.
Cool. So our next podcast is on November the 20th. Yes, 20th November. At here on YouTube or on twitch.tv/the Rand Nerds at 21:30 GMT. So you can watch our live streams. You can watch me on twitch.tv/SufferGram.
And I am twitch.tv/Skazz, SK4ZZI0US.
You can check out the website, RandNerds.co.uk. You can follow the podcast at anchor.fm/RandNerds. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time.
Great.
So,
take it easy, guys.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you, guys. Goodbye.